with women in cloud native, and then so what we're doing so far. So the women in cloud native is kind of initiative to make sure like we promote more diversity within the cloud native community. So I do attend meetups, and I often see very less participation from women. And Nancy is like she founded this community, and then she reached out to me that we have to do something to make this big and to inspire more women out there. So that's where we started, and it's been a great journey. Probably from last 1 year we have been doing monthly virtual workshops right now, and we have plans for in-person meetups soon, so in Hyderabad. So you can see right now, so our community is like around like 550 members joined in, and we are very happy for the progress that we have made. So coming to our particular event, like so Navaratri celebration. So for the people who don't know, like why we do celebrate Navaratri is like so it's a great it's one of the festival that defines the 9 different forms of feminine energy, and it's different 9 different forms of goddess Durga, which actually resembles the this woman woman feminine energy, and 9 different forms like courage, wealth, prosperity. And so after thinking about this, like when so I should thank Ram Iyengar for coming up with this idea, and we have been working together to make this live. It's not easy, to make sure that we find a speakers, organizing everything. But I think this is kind of an event we wanted to promote more women. That's why we have 9 women speakers lined up for 9 days, and so we wanted to share knowledge across all the everyone like who wants to learn about cloud native technologies. So that's where we started with this idea, and then you can see, we have this women in cloud native. If you're not part of this, I would suggest to join this. And so I would also request to join our upcoming events lined up for every day at the same time from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. So until this 12 11 days of like from third to sorry 10 days. 10th day is the kind of a final talk we have. So it's like 9 days. So we have from 3 to 12th October. So we want everyone to participate in all the events, and you can see different topics about the cloud native observability and the platforms and Kiverno, CI/CD pipelines, and you can see more events. If in this page itself you can register, you click on view details and register yourself to learn different topics, networking, stories, and we have awesome kind of different talks lined up for each day, to celebrate this Navaratri with more women energy actually. So that's all I about that what I wanted to tell. And I want to again thank Ram Iyengar for helping me with this all the logistic regarding this event. So the next thing is like today, we are going to discuss about the cloud native observability with Opentelemetry and Victoria Metrics, and Richa Mishra is going to be discussing and giving us knowledge on this, and she's working as a senior SRE with infra cloud technology. So I hear a lot about infra cloud technologies because many kind of CNCF folks are with that company, and they do awesome work with kind of these sharing knowledge and all of that. So I'm happy to host Richa today. Yeah, that's all I have. I think Richa, you can start discussing. I'll stop my share. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Bhavan. So let me share my screen. Is my screen up?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So hello everyone and happy Navratri to each one of you. And thank you for joining here. So Before starting, like I would like to appreciate this thoughtful idea of Navratri Talk series, like 9 days, 9 women. I really love this idea. And to start with, first I would like to introduce myself. So my name is Richa Mishra, and I'm working as senior SRE at InfraCloud. And I like to share my experience and journey. So I created a YouTube channel as well where I share interview tips and DevOps insights. And apart from being engineer, I love painting, and whenever I get time, I love to paint and decorate my house. So yeah, without any further delay, let's start with the first day of this Navratri series where I'll be talking about how we can enhance observability by using Opentelemetry and Victoria Metrics. So in today's like this talk, I'll be covering introduction to OpenTelemetry and Victoria Metrics, and then the integration, like why we need this integration, and at last I'll share an example setup. So let's start by first understanding observability. And observability is the ability to measure the internal state of a system by examining its output. So, like, it's very crucial and it helps us to gain insights into complex distributed system by collecting data in the form of metrics, traces, logs. And it helps us to answer the why part, like why the system is behaving weird or why there is any issue, not just the what part. So now that we have understood observability, we'll be talking about open telemetry. And so OpenTelemetry is a critical tool in our observability stack, and it is a framework that provides us a standard way to collect and then send the data in the form of metrics, logs, and traces from our application. So, recently, I was working for one of the clients where I got a chance to work with both OpenTelemetry as well as Victoria Metrics. So there they were using OpenTelemetry to send the traces to Honeycomb Refinery, and then later I explored this metrics part on how we can send the metrics from collector to Victoria Metrics. So it's a language agnostic and designed for modern distributed architecture. And the beauty of OpenTelemetry is that it unifies the collection of telemetry data across multiple environments and enables full visibility into the performance of our applications. And like I'll be sharing a brief overview about all these tools, and then talking about Victoria Metrics. So as I mentioned, like I got a chance while I was working for one of our client to explore this tool and also do a kind of comparison between Prometheus and Victoria Metrics. So it is a high performance open source time series database which is like designed to to store and then query large volumes of metrics efficiently. What I found best about this tool is that it is cost effective data storage and also consumes very less memory as compared to Prometheus. So like for in my setup, the Prometheus was consuming around 22 GB of memory, while Victoria Metrics was consuming around 5 to 6 GB of memory. So that was a huge difference which I observed, and like I played around with this tool for around 2 months and explored various aspects. And so I thought to share about it in this talk. So in this, like the setup which I have installed in my local, there I have used like there are various ways by which we can deploy Victoria Metrics. We can either use single version or we can use cluster version as well. So I have installed a single node version where I have deployed Victoria Metrics status stack helm chart, and what it does is like it deploys an operator and then it deploys. Agent, VM alert, VM rule, and all these components are being installed as part of this chart. And on each node, we have node explorer. So this status stack chart is kind of similar, I would say, to what we have for Prometheus, the bundle chart, which is a Q Prometheus stack chart. And VM single, it represents the database for storing metrics. So now the like one question arises that why is there is a need to integrate open telemetry with Victoria Metrics. So while I was I did this integration and found it very useful via which I can collect the metrics of my application and then I can view it into Victoria Metrics UI. So, like while I was exploring, I had used Surveyor, which was kind of uh, fetching the metrics, like fetching the metrics from application, and then it was sending it to collector, and then collector was sending it to Victoria Metrics. So this integration is very, I mean, say it's a kind of cherry on the cake, because it excels at collecting rich telemetry data, and we need a robust backend to store that query. So that's where Victoria Metrics comes in, and it can handle high ingestion rates and large volumes of metric data. So that complements the collector's ability, and it helps us in getting the detailed insights into application performance. So this integration ensures a scalable observability stack where data flows seamlessly from collection to storage, and querying is efficient. So if I talk about the integration, like for example, these are our application, and then in between we have a collector, so which will collect the metrics, and then it will forward it to Victoria Metrics. And in my example, I have created a web server in Golang and instrumented it with metrics. So what we'll do is that already I have a collector and have done some configuration on the collector side, which will push the metrics to Victoria Metrics, and then we'll view and analyze those metrics through UI. So if I talk about, like for example, collector configuration, so this is the normal configuration we have. Like I have used the deployment mode. We can use either a stateful mode as well, and then we have the protocols which we have for receivers. And inside exporters, we need to give the endpoint of the Victoria metrics, where we have to forward those metrics. So since we are using VM single, so we will be using the VM single service name here, and then the port on which it is listening, and then the path where it will be forwarding the metrics. And in metrics, like since we are talking about metrics here, so inside pipelines we'll be having the metrics section. For example, if we are sending traces from telemetry to Victoria, then we'll have the traces section here, and we'll have one more exporter inside exporter section. So this is a bit about collector configuration, I would say. And yeah, so let me share my screen again, and then we'll have the demo. Yeah, so this is the Golang application like code which I have with me, and it's creating a kind of web server. And if I talk about the pods which I have right now with me, I hope let me increase the font. So these are the pods which I have running right now in my local Minikube cluster. And if I talk about the helm chart, then I have these two helm charts. So one is the Victoria Metrics KT stack, which I have installed, and then it deploys all these components which you are able to see here. It is Grafana, then Cube State Metrics, then the node exporter and operator, and then VM agent, VM alert, alert manager, VM single. So this is the default values.yaml which I have used. And based on your need, you can update those values.yaml if you want to deploy another separate chart for Grafana, you can use that. Or I mean, based on your need, you can update those values and have the install this setup. And once like I've used the default one, and once we run the helm install command, this chart will be deployed, and all these bots will be up and running. And similar way for Opentelemetry, I have used the operator. So first I have deployed the operator, and then I have used this collector at YAML file to create the collector. So as I explained in the previous slide, where here I am using the service of open this VM single. Like as I mentioned, it's used for it's a kind of I would say a database for storing those metrics. So we'll forward the metrics from collector to Victoria
Uh,
metrics.
Sorry, Richa, like there is a request to increase the font size. So,
Okay,
yeah, thank you.
is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I was talking about like in the exporter, since we are forwarding it to Victoria Metrics, I have used this VM single endpoint. And once I'll run this kubectl apply -f collector.yaml, then this collector pod will be deployed, which we are able to see here. So it's like normal setup, normal how we deploy any health chart and deploy any pod. And then once I'll start my server, the application which I have deployed, so it will let me first port forward the service, because since everything is local, it is trying to look for. Okay, it's already. So I've port forwarded this Victoria Metrics endpoint, and if I go to this server where it's starting. So what it is doing is we are providing the endpoint of Victoria Metrics, which is a localhost, and I'm running it on localhost at 84294. So that I have provided, and then the path I have provided, which we use for VM ingestion for Opentelemetry, which is /Opentelemetry /API VLAN push. So let's go to the UI and explore the UI part. One second. So this is like once we install Victoria Metrics and we port forward it and we go to localhost 8429, then we'll be able to see all these. We'll be able to see this page. And if we want to explore the UI part of Victoria Metrics, then we can go here and then we can search for the queries. So, for example, in my application, the query is HTTP active request, latency seconds, and request total. So, for what first I'll do is I'll try to generate some request, and for that I'll from sequence 1 to 20, I'll do a curve at 8081. So what is 8081? It is the my web server. It's listening on 8081 port. So if I go to 8081, and then API fast is the endpoint which I have configured in my web server. So that's the reason I'll be like API fast, API slow will be generating those HTTP requests. So if I run this, so these many requests are being generated, so that we can go to the UI and then we can see if we are able to, the metrics is visible. So for example, previously while before this demo when I was testing, so this is the data, and now I generated the request, so we can see this data here. And similarly, like for, if I go here and search for a latency, then again we'll be able to see the data for API fast which I have generated. And if I go here and generate for API slow, and if I go to, maybe it will take some time to reflect here. So that is how like we can send the application metrics to Victoria. So either way, we can either like instrument our app code directly, or we can use something in the middle as well. Like in my client case, they were using surveyor in the middle, and then using surveyor, the metrics were first being pushed to collector, and then from collector it was being pushed to uh, Victoria Metrics. So this is the overall flow which I wanted to talk about. And if anyone is having any question, then yeah, we can discuss the questions.
Yeah, please let us know if you have. Okay, so there is one question to show the slide about the architecture, and they need some explanation there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yes, Ram. So, are you talking about this architecture diagram of Victoria Metrics?
Yeah, I think so. This is the one. Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions if you have. Yeah. Yeah, Richa, I mean, the ask is about this architecture only. Yeah.
Okay. So, should I explain this architecture again, or
Yeah.
okay, perfect. So, as I mentioned in Victoria Metrics, we have two ways via which we can install it. Like there is single mode of it, and one is the cluster mode of it. Where in cluster mode, what happens is like all the components like VM insert and VM select. There are various components involved into Victoria Metrics, so they are getting installed separately in case of cluster version. While in case of single node of Victoria Metrics, we have once we deploy this Victoria Metrics gate stack chart. So what it does is it will deploy the operator, and then it will have a VM single node. So with this here, the VM single and VM agent are the two main components, I would say. And then using VM agent, like we can pull the metrics. It works based on pull and push metrics, so it kind of acts as the agent between the applications and Victoria Metrics. And then the VM single is the database, like we can attach the persistent volume here, and all the metrics, everything is being stored here. We can set the retention period. So all these things is being managed by VM single. And VM alert is for alerting, like similar way, how we create alerts and all, and then we can create some rules of it. Like for example, I want to create an alert based on CPU and memory, so I can write an expression, like I'll write a query, and then I'll write the for interval, like for how much duration the evaluation should happen, and then all these things which like the way we create an alert. So similar way, all those queries and all, we can keep it in VM rule, and we can apply that file, so that will work as a for our alerts. And in the main, when we are installing the chart inside VM single, we have alert manager as well in Victoria Metrics. So there we can place the Slack webhook URL. And if you want to forward it to Slack, or if you want to forward it to some other channel, then those configuration we can do there. So whatever alerts will be generated, then those will be whenever the alert will be triggered, and then it will be forwarded to that particular channel, the webhook URL, which we have mentioned in the alert manager section. So overall, the thing I would say, the components involved, it is similar to, I mean, most of us, every one of us are more familiar with Prometheus and Grafana, and Victoria Metrics is a kind of, I would say, new to the market. And but yeah, it's a good tool to explore. And then while we explore, we'll get to know, we'll see the differences between Prometheus and Victoria Metrics. So that's the one part I would say. Otherwise, the components and everything which are being involved here is similar to what we have in Prometheus. Just I would say the naming and other things are different. For example, in Prometheus we have why I'm taking the name of Prometheus more, because people are more familiar with Prometheus, so that's the reason. And if, for example, in Prometheus, we create service monitors for monitoring any application, and we mention the path and port on which the metrics are being exposed for any application. And in case of Victoria metrics, we call it as, I would say, service scrape, and the functionality is same, but the name is different here. And yeah, I mean, that's all I would say, explain about this architecture. And we can also link it with Grafana, create some dashboards, like the way we configure data source in Prometheus for Grafana. The similar way we can um, configure the data source here as well for Victoria, and the things and the flow, like the node exporter is being installed on all the nodes. So it's same, I would say. Yeah. If you have any other doubt, then I'll be happy to answer.
Yeah, actually, I thought of asking about the node exporter, like so in Prometheus and Grafana, right? So we have node exporter getting installed across all the agents to get those metrics data. So
E-
how that does Victoria Metrics do this? Actually, that was I thought of asking to you actually.
Yeah, so it's the same. I would say the working model is same. So the way in Prometheus we have this node exporter, as a daemon said, which is being installed on all the nodes, and then the metrics are being collected. So similar way here also in Victoria Metrics as well, the node exporter is being installed on all the nodes. And here, like, we have an agent, we can configure the agent more. I mean, we can add more options there. We can add the remote URL there, and send it and send the metrics and forward it there. Create more custom jobs. For example, if we have Istio in the setup, we can add the job for Istio. If we have some VMs, then again we can add the IP and configuration for VM, so it can scrape the metrics of the VMs as well. So yeah.
Of course. Uh, yeah. So what is the chart on this diagram refers to?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It refers to the hand chart. So like, this is the name of hand chart, Victoria Metrics K stack hand chart. And if you have worked with Prometheus, then Prometheus we have Q Prometheus K stack. So the naming also, I would say, is a kind of you'll be able to relate it.
Yeah, see, there is another thing I wanted to check on. So I mean, like, how will you differentiate victorometrics with others? Like, what made this? Right now, I've seen many people are started using victorometrics, including our team as well. We use
Okay.
victorometrics. So I wanted to know, like, what factors that it's standing out between other open source projects actually. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely. So one second, let me share the UI. So if like, I went there and I clicked on explore cardinality. So this is the one feature which I found which is unique, and we don't have. I mean, it kind of tells us that what all are the metric, I mean, the time series, and what are the labels with the highest number of series. So based on that, what we can do is we can optimize, we can add some filters and filter out some of the labels and all. For example, if we don't want that, then we can remove that, and it will somewhere improve our performance of our setup with metrics. So that's one thing which I found, like, unique, I would say. And
Okay.
apart from that, like, one thing which I found better in Victoria Metrics than any other tool. For example, I used Prometheus. I also have used Datadog as well. So the memory consumption is very low, I would say. And where in Prometheus it is using around 25 GB in setup of our client. And here at the same place, I had installed Victoria Metrics without any optimization. Like I just as it is, I installed it and I haven't added any filters and all. So there it was performing better. Like the memory consumption, I would say was around 7-8 GB, not more than that. So that's one thing. Like if someone is looking for cost-effective solution, then they can go for Victoria Metrics. Initially, like I found some issues with the installation and setup. Maybe that was because I was more familiar with Prometheus and I was used to Prometheus. So maybe that's the reason. But slowly, when I got to know about the different the different terms here involved here, and I also got active support from the community as well. So that helped me in the exploration. So yeah, the community. Slack community and the maintainers which they have, they are also active and they help. It's so that's what I can say. Like the comparison. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Richa. Yeah, feel free to ask any questions, everyone. Like you can just unmute yourself and ask if you have any, even so like anything you can ask Richa actually. Yeah, she's an SRE.
Hi, Richa. Sorry to interrupt.
No, no, no. Please go ahead, Malu. Thank you.
Hi, Richa. My name is Malu. I was really impressed with everything that you showed us. I was wondering if you could talk about how did you get started with cloud native, and a little bit of your background, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So I like if you're asking how I built my career into cloud native and this DevOps side, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, I would say like mine was a roller coaster journey, and I started my career as a like I wasn't directly into DevOps, and even I did my engineering into electronics and communications. So I was nowhere. I wasn't aware what is Kubernetes, what is DevOps, what is Docker, nothing. I was not aware of any of these terms, and I started my journey as a like I was working as a support engineer in one of the company, and then I did some courses around the few courses I did and learned about networking and what is this IP address and how we can connect to the internet, the LAN cables, firewalls. So I was working. I started as a network engineer, I would say, and then system administrator, where I worked with Linux and got learned about Linux and the hardware part, went into virtual machines and all. And then in the same company, I found that I got to know that I was like there was repetitive works and I didn't like it. So I started looking around and then I found that people are automating, and then there is something called as Docker. And then I like some interest build up and I started learning those tools. And once I learned it, then I went to in my same company. I went to the other like team, the DevOps team head, and then they interviewed me. And this is how I shifted, I would say, from system admin to DevOps profile. And then when I joined InfraCloud, then there I got to learn a lot of things, like the project where the first project which I was given here at InfraCloud. So I joined there at InfraCloud as a SRE, and then the project on which I was working there, I learned all these things. I had learned, but the experience thing was missing, and that experience I got here at InfraCloud while working, and then troubleshooting. So mainly with troubleshooting, like I learned a lot of things. So yeah, this is how I shifted here, and my interest grew here. And when I resolve anything, then yeah, that's a big thing, I would say, for me. So this is how, like, that satisfaction comes in when you resolve things. And slowly, like,
Yeah.
I started getting interested. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We have actually very similar backgrounds. It's very interesting. I'm also similar electronics engineer. I worked a lot in support. I've worked in networking companies, but sometimes I find it hard to make that shift. So yeah, I was just curious to see your journey. I'm actually quite inspired by what you said, and maybe I'll start, like pushing myself to learn. Sometimes I find it really daunting, but I think like that's an okay place to be in the beginning, especially, and then as we learn, we can kind of grow. That's how you grow, I think.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So,
Do
I
you
mean, I can relate. I mean, the struggle and the experience which I have. So, yeah, I mean, slowly, step by step, you will be closer to what you need. I mean, in your career.
do you have any advice for like women or girls who are like starting out? What are good ways to meet mentors? What are like good ways to push yourself forward? Something like that. Like this is a great event. Like for Navratri, we are celebrating women and women in tech. So I think I would like to ask you what's your message for people, for women to like push themselves forward and get started with things like this.
Yeah. So, I mean, my advice I would say is that you should not stop. I mean, if you want something, then go for it. And if that is giving happiness to you, then definitely, I mean, you have to put efforts. Like even when I was working as a support engineer, there also after my office hours, I used to give extra efforts. I used to learn those things and then understand like what are those things, and I used to connect with people who are already working into that, gain some insights from them. So, I mean, instead of like normally what we do is office then I mean office hours are over, then we close the laptop and then we okay we go into our work. But yeah, if you have to do something extra, then you have to give a bit of extra efforts in the start, and once you give it, like it's a kind of investment you do in the starting, and once you do that investment, then afterwards, I mean, it's not that every day you have to give that extra effort and you don't you will not have your work life balance. Definitely you will have it, but yeah, in the start you will have to give those that extra thing, and then that extra will pay you a lot in going forward. So that's what I will say. I mean, if you want something, then don't stop yourself and give your efforts, do your best, and definitely you'll get the results.
I think that's a great message. Thank you.
Yeah, just adding a point here, I think there is a great conversation happening between Malu Krishnan and Richa. And thank you so much, Richa. Like, so I'm seeing like people getting inspired by you, and so that's what our intention is to make sure. Like, so I mean, like I've seen like the women like who thinks like whether I can do it, are
Yeah.
like they'll stop at that level. So like whether is it possible, I know there are many things women have to deal with at home, handling till things. Maybe after kids, you'll understand my words. But so there are many things, but still, what's keeping us to push forward is something that's like passion for what we want to
Yeah,
do,
definitely.
that makes us happy. So I think that's what we are trying to get through this event. And so like so everyone can do anything. That's what my my statement always, like no one is a genius or different. So it's that what you love, you're doing your efforts and you're being passionate about it. That makes you definitely a great personality. And probably we'll definitely, we do have those ups and lows. And sometimes you feel the whether I'm doing the best with work or with the family, and that thing will always be there. But so you should keep moving forward and keep learning things and from your experiences and from people in the community, so their stories will definitely inspire you a lot, and then you'll get that motivation. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, thanks, Vani, for adding your point. Yeah, definitely, I agree with you.
yeah. Anyone having any other questions, feel free to ask more about Victoria Metrics, Opentelemetry, anything, to Richa. So, yeah, so there is one thing I would like to I'd like to share is that probably you can. I think most of you might have followed us through LinkedIn or Twitter, so you can let me. So you can definitely, follow us in LinkedIn through this Women in Cloud Native thing, and we have all the events lined up. And I hope to see all of you for all the, 9 days of our Navratri celebrations and listening to all our women leading folks talk about things in cloud native technology. And you can follow us on Twitter with at the rate She Cloud Native and. Yeah, so I mean, like, we hope to share more knowledge and let me stop share. Yeah, so we wanted to share more knowledge out there through women in CNCF and inspire more women out there. So yeah, that's all I have. So thank you, Anushka, for I think you're the one. I think you join all. I think most of our events, and thank you so much for your words as well. So let me share about tomorrow's talk as well. So, uh, so, so the tomorrow talk we have is about platform engineering, and uh, I think we can just look at the details, right? So tomorrow we have this event, and so Banzer is going to. She's been phenomenal in the industry, she's going to speak about platform engineering, tomorrow. So I hope, like, all of you, just register yourself and join for tomorrow's event as well. Looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow, and I should say thank you again to Richa. And so yeah, thank you everyone for joining, and thank you everyone for supporting us, and thank you Ram for helping with this. Yeah, thank you all.
Yeah, thank you everyone.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Bye bye.